But these are a big mix. These are a mix of American, Chinese, and European genetics. So
Okay. Awesome.
usually give you a few of these.
Hey guys, it's Wednesday morning. So yesterday we went to Crossville, Tennessee, and we picked up a bunch of plants from this really cool guy, Cody.
This is good for us. When I first started planting out walnuts and hickory nuts, they'll barely grow at all those first few years, and they spend all their energy putting down this crazy taproot, like in boxes. That taproot goes down, and as soon as it hits the air at the bottom, it stops building the taproot.
Actually, I'll contact Cody and see if he wants me to give you guys his information. I'm not sure how big of a scale he wants to get going. So his main motivation for selling the plants was not necessarily to make money from them, but to get the plants spread around. You know, he does sell them to make it worth his while. And a lot of these plants are what they call seedling. A lot of them are about a year old. So this is already putting us a year ahead. We're actually buying time. So let me show you what we got here. This is called muscanthus grass. This is used, they're doing a lot of studies on biofuels with this, and they're finding that it actually rivals and does a lot better than corn or even soybeans as far as energy output. It's basically a huge clumping grass. So comfrey is a great bioaccumulator. It collects a lot of nutrients from the soil, and then you can use this in chop and drop. So it does have some medicinal values. The one that we got has the lower alkaloid counts in it. We don't plan on using it for medicinal purposes. We're growing this plant for its ability to mine nutrients. Got this little dude. He only had one of these left. This is a Korean pine nut. So it's basically a pine tree, and then the pine cone has a nut inside of it. On the majority of these, he gave them to me for $5 a clump. Now, if you guys know anything about buying bare root plants can vary between like $4 and $10 per plant. He gave them to me for $5 a clump, so it was a super deal. This is black locust. So basically our plan is to put one of these for every 2 fruit trees. Its main purpose is a nitrogen fixer. So you get that as clearly as possible. The reason we're planting this is basically like you're planting your fertilizer for the other trees. So this is a support tree. What we did was anytime we got a clump of plant, we labeled them. I show in a video, I made a whole video on just how to make these plant tags. You want to be able to label something like this doesn't look any different than that does, than that does, and that does, but there's 5 or 6 different things right here.
That's one lesson I've learned, is you can never label stuff too much.
So also in this plant, there's chestnut, which is a hybrid chestnut. It's not American or Chinese, it's a hybrid. That's this clump right here, and I got about 12 of those. This one right here is shagbark hickory, a beech plum, which is like a bush plum, wild plum, hazelnut. So this is like a bush hazelnut, and that's also a hybrid. The reason I mentioned that the hazelnut and the chestnuts are both hybrids is because both of those are susceptible to a certain type of disease known as a blight. The chestnut blight went through and it wiped out the vast majority. I think we only have now like 1 or 2% of what the chestnuts were. So we have the genetics so that they're not susceptible to those diseases. So that's why I point out that these are hybrids. These are pecans, and this is a pecan that was native to an area around Spartan, Tennessee. There's the anatomka, which I believe is a Russian variety. This just says native crab apple. So this is one that Cody says that he was finding around the area where he lives that was fruiting really good, and it actually had pretty sweet apples. Siberian crab apple. So there's a fourth variety. I didn't realize I had so many. And then he gave me one that I call the French crab apple, and then he just texted me today giving me the exact scientific name for it. This is a thornless blackberry. We have a ton of these wild blackberries, and they have thorns all over them. There's a bunch of them right there, right behind me. It's just a thorn bush. We're gonna start getting rid of those guys. This is actually a purple raspberry. So a lot of raspberries are red. This is a purple raspberry. This one is black currant. Titania is the variety of this black currant. It's called, these might look like sticks to a lot of people, but this is called Bubby elderberry. All we have to do is basically just stab these in the ground. These plants are so resilient. As long as you have 2 of these leaf nodes here, the rest of this stick will start to root out. So we're really happy with the plants that we got. I believe we got 19 new varieties of plants that we don't have on the homestead, stuff that we had a very, very hard time finding locally. We got a great connection, like I said, with Cody. And Cody, we really do appreciate you having us over, taking the time and sharing these plants with us. We'll make sure that we pass forward that appreciation, to other people, and make sure we get these plants out there as well.